My name is Marcia Robinson, and we are recording an oral history with Jan Toennison as part of the Sweet MUMories Oral History Project to mark the 50th anniversary of the Miami University Middletown, Ohio campus. This interview is taking place on June 29, 2016 at the Miami University Middletown campus. Ms. Toennison, do I have your consent to proceed with this interview?
Yes, you do.
Thank you. So would you please give us your name and your connection to Miami campus?
My name is Jan Toennison. I worked at the Miami Middletown campus from 1999 to 2014 when I retired, and my last title here was Director of Public Affairs.
Thank you. Can you give us an overview of your career here?
Okay, well, and even if I go before I came here, I spent the first 25 years of my career in the corporate world. I worked for a division of PepsiCo, a division of Mead. So, you know, there was some moving around. My husband got a job in Cincinnati. So I was just kind of looking for something different. And then the job with Miami came up, and I thought, oh, it'd be great to be out of the corporate world. So it kind of was a career change for me. I've always done public relations. So I started here in 1999. I think my description was PR specialist or something. And just over the years, always did public relations, publications, photography, speech writing, slideshows, that kind of thing.
During your time here, have there been any major changes in the orientation or the focus or outlook of the campus?
Yes, I'd have to say the 15 years that I was here saw huge changes on several fronts. One thing, the degrees. When I first came here, the PR marketing, the focus was really on two-year degrees, technical degrees, nursing, engineering, technology, all the 6 or 7 different technical degrees, and that's really what we were pushing at the time. And by the time I left, the emphasis was very, very much on 4-year bachelor's degrees and getting more and more of those, so that somebody wanted to, they could stay on this campus for 4 years basically, and get a bachelor's degree. The BIS is a good case in point.
So what's the rationale for switching to the 4-year degrees? What was the conversation?
I think it was what our students were telling us they needed. In so many of the disciplines, over time, the 2-year degrees just weren't enough. Say in nursing, it used to be that you could get a 2-year degree and your RN and you were set. Not anymore. Now they want all nurses to have bachelor's degrees. So I think it was just the community, our students, business were telling us that that's the direction we needed. That was the direction where we needed to go.
Can you tell us how we learned that there was a change in direction? Was there a process for acquiring these opinions?
That's a good question. It seemed like it just, you know, over the 15 years, it was just something that kind of grew. That there was maybe less interest in the 2-year degrees, and more students were telling us, I want to stay here. I need to stay here. I have young children. I have a family. I have ties to Middletown or Hamilton. I can't really just drop everything and go to Oxford. That's not, it's just not possible for me at this time in my life as an older student or whatever. So, or a student with family or jobs. So many of our children, our students are employed. Mm-hmm. So they, you know, if you're coming and picking up 2 or 3 classes a week and you have a full-time job, then those classes need to be close to home. So I think that's what they were telling us was we'd like to be able to stay here for the entire time.
So it sounds like Middletown campus, we listen to the community. Can you talk to us some more about that relationship between the community and the campus?
I think that's been that closeness, that close relationship between Middletown and Miami Middletown campus just started before the campus was even here. It was, you know, this campus was the first regional campus in the entire state of Ohio. And the reason for that was because of the Middletown community. There was just a great the community really, really, really wanted this campus. They wanted it here. And I think there was some pride of place in having the first one in Ohio. So at the very beginning, I think funds were raised through various community drives, and then there was one through AK Steel to raise money to fund it. So, and then over the years, it's just been nothing but support from the community. A lot of organizations like Rotary throughout the years have, funded scholarships. It's been a very, very, very close relationship from the very beginning.
So how did your office fit into that intersection between community and administration?
Lots of student stories, community stories. I remember one story in particular. We had a student who was just an exceptional student. And at the time of the 40th anniversary, we found out that her grandfather was one of the men who helped found this campus. So and then she's got so many family members that have gone here. So the roots run deep, and then, everybody has an uncle, an aunt, a dad, somebody who came to this campus. So it almost gets to be a family thing also. In PR, we did a lot of community outreach. We would have booths, whatever there was a fair or something like the Lebanon Blues Fest, we'd always have a booth, and maybe some places you wouldn't think we'd be, the Balloon Fest, wherever there were community festivals, that kind of thing, we'd have booths. And always, the people would always come up and tell you that my dad went to Mum, my mom went, my grandma went, my kids are going there. Deep community involvement here. And I think that's been the life's blood of this campus, is that the community support that we get.
Some people say that the campus gets that support because it's an opportunity campus. Would you say that first generation students really need this place?
First generation students really, really do need a campus like Miami Middletown. So many students who I know are first generation that I've done stories on and thing in the past. Oxford can be intimidating to maybe a first generation student. So I think sometimes Miami Middletown was like a buffer, or a place where you could, for whatever reason, whether it was that you were a first generation student or there are all kinds of reasons. A lot of students, you hear the story over and over again that I went somewhere else. I went to Ohio State. I went to NKU. I went somewhere else and it just didn't work. I wasn't ready for 300 people in a classroom. So I decided to come to MUM. And after a semester or two, I was back on track because the smaller class size, the faculty knew me and helped me and talked to me. They weren't going to let me fail. So yeah, I think it provided opportunity on lots of different levels, whether it was your own family background, that a bigger institution would just be too intimidating, or maybe you weren't quite as prepared as you should be or should have been. On lots of levels, I think Miami Middletown was the answer for people.
So what do the faculty do to help with that transition stage? What have you observed?
I observed that, the faculty seemed to me to be a very cohesive group. They were all, for whatever reason, they all seemed to be on the same page. And that was, if it's within our means to do so, we're not going to let these students fail. We're going to do everything we can to help them. And that included knowing their names, greeting them when we see them, being kind to them, creating an atmosphere in the classroom that's inclusive and non-threatening. You saw examples of all kinds of things, but it seemed to be almost a very cohesive. Of course, there are exceptions to every rule, but as a rule, they seem to me to be, very much together on this thing of we're going to do everything we can to help these students.
When you say we're not letting the student fail, is there grade inflation here?
I do not know the grade inflation. I don't know the answer to that question. I don't think so. The students that I've talked to, at least when they would go to Oxford, they're very well prepared. So I think the quality of education they were getting here was top notch.
Okay.
Because they could go into Oxford. I just interviewed a student that went to University of Kentucky. He's getting his PhD. I think the basis that's laid here, the foundation that's laid here, is a solid one. And grade inflation, I don't know about. I would think not, though.
Okay. From
the stories you hear of people that go, especially on to Oxford, and no problem sliding right into an Oxford classroom and fitting right in.
Okay. What are some of your favorite moments from working here?
Oh, wow. One of the best things about working here for me, again, I came from a corporate world. I came from, 8 to 5, nose to the grindstone, corporate America. So I come here, and it's great. No question about it. We worked very, very hard. But there was always something going on that if you wanted to take your lunch hour and spend it at a lecture somewhere, just the variety of stuff of things were just incredible. Dance, art, lectures of all kinds, book club, book reviews, students doing things, theater students doing wacky things out in the hall. There was always, always something like that going on to, brighten your day, or you could learn something every day if you were of a mind to, if you wanted to, if you had the time. So, I'll have to say it was great at that time in my life, just to broaden my horizons a little bit, and it was great.
Have you observed any trends in the relationship between faculty, staff, students? I mean, anything that helps to create that sense of family here or community?
What would help to create this sense of community here? I don't know. I would imagine that it's a number of things that converge to create the sense of community that is here. But, faculty and their point of view have got to have a lot to do with it.
Okay.
Other than that, I don't know.
Part of what your office does is promote events, and some of the events include things like the Artists and Lecture Series. Can you tell us about that?
Again, that was just wonderful. I mean, it was my job, it was work, but it was so much fun. The kinds of artists and lectures that we did have, and I get to, you got to meet some of these people face to face up front, like Scott Carpenter, who was a Mercury 7 astronaut. I got to meet him and take him to his hotel and take him around town a little bit. Ralph Nader, I got to meet him. So, and then just some of the artists that we've had, Randy Newman and Trombone Shorty and just Esperanza Spalding, just fantastic, world-class artists really. And it's a small venue, and that was so much fun to work on for all of those. Plus, the more serious side, authors, politicians. So everybody came here. Everybody was close by, came to MUM. So it was great.
So we've talked a lot about MUM. We're about to go into a new phase, and that's going to be the concept of the regional division. Can you talk about the Middletown and Hamilton campuses and how students relate to that?
Right. It's really funny. In 1999, when I first came here, the Hamilton and Middletown campuses were it was almost a competitive relationship. That there are, only so many students out there and we both want them or whatever, so. But that, over the course of the 15 years that I was here, changed 180 really. To go from kind of, two separate units to one cohesive unit. And it wasn't always a pretty thing, but in the end, I think it's been done for the good of all our students and for Ohio and Butler County for sure. And I think we found out that the students really do, they just go wherever the class is, whether it's Hamilton, Middletown, or Oxford. If it fits their schedule, or if it's a prof they'd rather have, whatever, then they'll go wherever that class is. So again, I think the students were kind of leading the way and telling us, this is what we want. We need a regional system where we can pick and choose and use whatever we need.
During your time here, that concept of a regional system also intersected with the internet and the development of online classes. Mm-hmm. Do you have any recollections of how that transition to online teaching and distance learning took off and how it was advertised?
Right. Online teaching at Miami Middletown, my only recollection with that is that we were right at the forefront of that. I remember very, very early on, like maybe 10 years ago, we were singled out by the state of Ohio, by the governor, for the work that we'd done in promoting online learning. So, and I think for a long time, this campus was at the forefront, even in terms of looking at Oxford. We were ahead of the curve compared to Oxford on online learning. So, and again, I think it's another thing that students told us they wanted and needed. And Miami Middletown responded. When the internet started, and we might not have been at the beginning, maybe we weren't so open to it. But once they said this, we really do need this. We're on, we have jobs, we have families. It'd be great to be able to take one online class per semester. It would really help our lives, help us get through this. And I think that the administration and the faculty here saw that and ran with it.
How do you relate that to the public then through public affairs, that we're adding this additional space for learning, not just multiple campuses, but also bringing on Green Tree and the online space? What kind of growth did you see?
Right. It was continual. Voice of America, Green Tree, online, everything. More and more and more degrees, more options. The BIS, the Bachelor of Integrative Studies, all these things just, I think showed that this campus is, a vibrant, open place, open to change, not, stuck 20 years ago. No, we're going to change, and we're going to change to make things better for our students. I think that's always been the driving force. And as far as I'm concerned, it is still going on that way.
One of the sources that I've had for this set of interviews is something that you've put together, the communique.
Oh my goodness.
And I've loved it.
Yeah?
You've talked about serving the students, but you also did something special for faculty and staff in the communique. Can you talk to me about what you had in mind as you put those issues together?
Right. I think communique was always, there was so much going on here that there's no way that you could really, one person could know, and so much to be proud of, really. So I think communique always had that in mind, that it was a way to highlight the accomplishments of our faculty, staff, and students. And communique always went out to the community. So not only internally, but to show the community that, here's what we're doing with, the funds that you maybe donate to us, with the trust that you have in us. Here are the kinds of things that that are going on here, and some of the stories are just fascinating. A faculty member who was doing research on E. coli with using potatoes, which was very, very old. It's like an old wives' tale that potatoes would help your digestive system. Well, it's not so, if you do the microbiology, it's true, it really worked. So, and another faculty member who's like an expert on American chestnut trees and chestnut blight, and how they're trying to bring back the American chestnut tree. And this is all stuff coming right out of Miami Middletown. So a lot of the research that goes on here, you don't necessarily hear about too much. So Communicate was great for that, to bring some of these stories, and their human interest. They were very interesting.
You also had a regular section on new faculty. Mm-hmm. What sparked that approach?
I think it was mainly to show existing faculty, here are the new people on board, and here's a little highlight of them as to, and you never know how you're going to connect with somebody. Maybe they went to the same undergrad school as you, or have some of the same interests or whatever. So just to, again, trying to fuse that community thing.
I like that. Mm. How do you interface with the media in the local area through your office?
Okay. There's an old saying in PR and media that you don't have arguments with people who buy ink in barrels, which is, of course, newspapers. So, and it never does go that far. But we had great relationships with the media. All of the executive directors and deans that I worked for, and I worked for 4 of them, were very, very, very open to the media. If somebody wanted a sit-down interview or in-depth interview, or wanted to know what was going on campus, we would respond immediately. And that's what fosters a good relationship with the media. If you're there when they need you, then when you need them, they're going to be. So if there was a story that I really, really, really wanted to see in the newspaper or on TV or something, then it's just human nature. If somebody's helped you out, then you're going to do the same when. So, but always very, very open, very forthcoming, whether it was good news or bad. Not that it was ever bad news that much, but if enrollment ever went down or something, enrollment's taken a little dip, and there's the reason why we think that's happened. But always very forthcoming with the media.
Working for 4 leaders over the years, are there particular campaigns that stand out to you?
What kind of campaigns are you talking about? PR campaigns?
Yes.
Or, that's more the marketing side. PR we didn't, in terms of, so in my 15 years here, I worked for 1 executive director and 3 deans. So I saw some kind of different styles, different ways of leading, all good for the campus at the time they were here, I think. So I don't know, it all just seemed to flow. And in terms of different campaigns, that's more getting into marketing. No, I can't really think of anything that jumps out at me.
All right. Now, as we're thinking about the stories, if you could say there were 3 characteristics of the campus that you liked to stress over the years to the public, what would those have been?
Well, convenient / accessible. It's close to home. You can get here fast if you have a family and a job. Affordable, that was always a big deal for our students, as for anybody these days, that if you want to save some money, come here for 2 years and then go to Oxford for 2. I mean, if you are getting a degree from Oxford, then it's definitely a cost-effective place to be.
Okay.
So, and a third thing, I don't know, kind of a fits your lifestyle kind of thing. You're going to find all kinds of students here. You're 18-year-olds, fresh out of high school, and somebody who's retired, and everybody in between. So young and old, diverse. This is always the most diverse of Miami's campuses. We were more diverse than Hamilton or Oxford. And we're very proud of that. So you're going to find all kinds of students. You're going to find people who are in the same spot you are, whether they have a job or they have kids or whatever it is. And you're probably going to be able to connect with those people. Lots of student organizations, whether it's Rusty Nails for older students, or if you want to play a sport, you can play a sport. Basketball, softball, tennis. If you were good at a sport in high school, but you're not at the level to be drafted by some college, but you just like to keep playing, you can come right here and do that, just for the love of the sport. So lots of different ways for people to connect on campus.
So what makes this place magical?
Wow, that is a good question. MUM is magical because of what it does for what it can do for people. MUM is magical because of the impact that it has on people's lives. When they come back and tell you, or you talk to somebody and they say, I wouldn't be where I am today if I hadn't gotten my start at MUM. I don't know what I'd be doing, but it wouldn't be what I'm doing now, which I love doing. I wouldn't be the great teacher, the great nurse, the great, entrepreneur, business guy, whatever it is. I couldn't have done it. I didn't have the resources, the background, anything. I came to MUM, and my worldview changed. Somebody believed in me and helped me to take those first steps, and then I was on my way. So I think that's where the real magic here lies.
Okay. What would you like to see continue for the next 50 years?
Wow, the next 50 years. I hope for the next 50 years that MUM is able to continue that great relationship with the Middletown community. It needs it. It depends on Middletown. The goodwill of the populace has meant everything to this campus. Not just the donations and the scholarships and things, but the general goodwill of the population at large. So I hope that goes for another 50. That would be absolutely wonderful.